So Jordan, I see this print, we're walking around your shop. This print looks really awesome. How about you tell us a little bit about how you achieved it and how you got there?
Yeah, so you know, start off first with the white. I get the underbase to make sure that it's nice and smooth and cooled down before printing on top, because I found that with the underbase, sometimes if you print a color on top when the ink's really hot, I'll usually give it at least 5 to 10 seconds at least before printing that next color, because I've noticed the little bubbles that will come through. And then yeah, I'll print the red, the bright red, and then we have kind of a maroon red that we go on, and then I try typically to go light to dark for printing, but depending on the design and how the colors flow, it's good to just kind of get a feel for how it layers. And then yeah, and then we just kind of smooth it out all at the end with the last screen and let it rock.
So I see you got some detail here in the teeth, and I'm looking at your lines, your edges of your print, and they look very crisp and clean. Just kind of go through what mesh count you used on these.
Typically for an underbase, I try to stick with at least like a 156 or even up to like a 180, depending on the ink deposit that you want to lay down. But I don't really go any lower than that, because I find that the underbase, it lays a little too much down. And then from there, actually for all the other colors on this one, I'm just using a 110 mesh. But if you are doing a design where you don't want to lay a huge amount of ink, I'd recommend sticking with like 156 to a 180. I typically don't go above 180 for most designs unless you have something that is more fine detail. So right now I just turned my flash on, and I'm letting it heat over. I already got a little bit of water-based adhesive on here, so I'm gonna give that about at least a few minutes to heat up until it's ready to start printing. We're gonna be printing over here. We have a 5-color design. You can't really tell, this is actually a little bit lighter shade than this one right here, and then a gray, and then we got white, red, and then kind of a maroon burgundy shade. And yeah, we're gonna be printing that with an underbase and then layering all the colors on top of that. Well, we're gonna be printing on next level 6210 style T. It's kind of unisex fit, or the CVC. And this is gonna be a back print, so I like to start off, I get a couple, you always gotta do 2. Maybe 1 if you're feeling lucky. It's good to always have an extra of each size. You know, even if you're printing hoodies, which is something that I definitely struggled with first screen printing, to get a nice smooth hoodie print, I think is one of the more challenging things. Having an extra of each size will save you in the end, because if you have to get it shipped from your wholesaler just by itself, they're probably gonna charge you a lot for freight, which I've had to do before. So yeah, order an extra of each shirt size, it'll be worth it in the end. So first thing I do is I'll spin the shirt under the flash for a few seconds to kind of just like heat up the shirt and suck some moisture out, and give you a nice good print. And then I'll usually do this as I'm loading each shirt, and then by the time it comes around, you kind of wait, and it should be good to print on. So yeah, make sure it's nice and smooth, no creases or anything. So we're going to start first with our white underbase. So make sure this is flooded, and we'll do a couple layers of this. So I like to make sure I really pull, give it a couple passes so you clear all the ink through the screen. Make sure you got that fully flooded. Here we go. And so I'm gonna wave this under the flash for about 3 seconds, and then once that comes back through, I will give it another pass, and then we'll smooth it out after that. All right, let's give that one more hit.
So I noticed on the second hit, after you flashed it, you only just hit it once, correct?
Yes, actually I do just hit it once. I've noticed that when you come through with the second, you see there's really not much ink. Sometimes I might hit it twice if I see like a section that is like dried up in the screen. And that's why it's good to just heat it up for a few seconds under the flash in between. Because if you had it there for like say 10 seconds or something, it might actually harden the ink into the screen, which has happened before. Which has happened. So if you don't want it to do too long under the flash, just enough to help, you know, do another smoothing. So now, had it under for about 5 seconds, and I'm gonna just hit it just like that.
So this is what you would call your dry run then, is that correct? Like, or are you actually putting ink onto the...
It's pretty much a dry run, you know. When I do it, I try not to have a bunch of ink like at the beginning when you do it. So you wouldn't want to have like a huge amount like that, because then you might actually pull some, and then it might not be fully evenly pulled through. So I try to do it where it's pretty much empty. And now there's ink there, but yeah, I try to do it dry like you're saying.
Yeah, cool.
And so just in case there was some ink residue, I always spin it back under the flash for at least a few seconds before printing my next layer. I think I might need to pull the flash a little bit, but yeah. You always want to make sure you have your design fully covered on the flash too when you go to print. Sometimes you can do that by kind of getting low and just kind of like looking underneath like the flash. Like if I was doing it over here, I would make sure at least I have about 1 inch on each side, because then you could find your design, you might be gooping ink back onto your screen. So yeah, this is dry to the touch. Another way you can check is kind of touch the ends, make sure you don't have any ink residue. So we're looking good. All right, so for this, do our red ink. You have it flooded nice. So we'll just give one solid pass for that. And then if I was using a higher mesh screen, I might give it 2 full passes of red, but since it's on a 110, it looks pretty nice and bright. So I think we'll leave it at that. And then we'll make sure that's cured for about 3 to 5 seconds. And you can do the test, make sure. And giving a little time in between, and when you're spinning 4 shirts at once, you kind of can time it where by the time it spins back around after it's cured, it'll be a perfect time to print that third color. So do that, make sure you get 2 full pulls, get all the ink through, and there we go. We got the second one. I kind of see a little of the underbase showing on this section, so what I'm going to do for this when I have that problem is that I will actually do a push stroke to clear that underbase, or to kind of hide the underbase, I guess you'd say. So now if I just do a nice pull, push, see? Now you do not see the underbase.
It's stretching the mesh the opposite way and covering up that part that was peeking out, correct?
Exactly.
Cool.
See, that's the science behind it. I don't know why it does it, but I figured it out when it happened to me before. So, yeah, exactly. So yeah, now we're gonna make sure that's nice and cured. And then we'll give that a little bit. Yeah. All right. We're gonna print our first shade of gray. And for this, it's just a little bit of ink, so you can just do kind of a light cure in between, just to make sure it comes through good. All right. And what's nice about these presses, they have a section here where you can put your hand on each side, as long as you don't have ink on it. That'll help you kind of spin it around too, because these presses do get hot. All right. 2 full pulls of this. And there is our last shade of gray for that. Now, and see, we're on the last color, so we don't actually need to spin this under the flash, as long as you put it through a conveyor belt and cure it properly. All right, make sure you don't touch any parts of the shirt. Right. And that's how we print 5 color with an underbase included in that color.
I noticed you're using the 110 mesh on the colors, which lets a nice ink deposit through. I did notice you're not bringing the squeegee down too far when you pull your print, right? So that kind of helps it stay crisp, because if you come down really far with the squeegee, you kind of blow out those lines a little bit, right? So I noticed that. Yeah, that's great.